Raider Nation, what's good? Appreciate you checking in. We got 24 hours until the free agency deadline. I'm going to hit you with the video real quick on who I think we should go after, which Raiders are possibly on the trading block. And I think what is going to be a big indicator on whether or not we're buyers or sellers is going to be our Monday night game against the Lions. Um, you know, if we beat the Lions, or if we come close, if we play a really strong game, if we battle with them well and we can show that we can actually compete with some of the top tier teams, we might be sellers. And there's somebody specific I'd like to go after. But man, if the Lions come out and beat us up and we shit the bed, well, then I think we're going to be sellers. And so I'm going to kind of hit you with this video. I appreciate you guys checking. If you can, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. So again, we got the Lions this week, Monday night, and there's two free agents that I think we should definitely go after. And the first one, if we can beat the Lions or play an extremely strong game and show that we can be competitive, the number one name I'd like to see us go after is Montez Sweat from the Washington Commanders. He would be a perfect replacement for Chandler Jones. Obviously, with the debacle that happened with Chandler Jones and the Raiders finally releasing him off of the roster, I think we need to find the replacement. And so, he's already started this half of the season with 6.5 sacks. He's always been a solid, big bodied player. Chandler Jones was a big body. Montez Sweat is the same thing. He's 6'6", almost breaking 270. He would be an anchor on the other side, on the opposite side of Max Crosby. And the reality is what we've seen so far the beginning half of this season is that our defense, unless there is some drastic change, our defense is going to anchor this team. Our offense still hasn't scored more than 20 points. The most they've scored is 19. We got to the 21-point mark, but that was because the defense got a safety. So, reality is unless anything changes, we're going to be riding the shoulders of the defense. And so if we can show Monday night that we can be competitive, I think we got to possibly try to get another piece to that defense, and hopefully can help us in the second half stretch of the season. So number one, I'd love to see us go after Montez Sweat. But again, that is only if we show out and show we can be competitive Monday night against the Lions. Now, if we don't, if the Lions come out, mop us up, kick our ass, if we shit the bed, there's another free agent that I think that we should potentially target, which is Milton Williams. He's a D tackle with the Eagles. Now, the Eagles have invested a lot in their D line, and they have brought in a ton of free agents, a ton of draft picks. They picked up Carter from Georgia this past NFL draft, and so they've really put a lot into this D line. So Milton Williams, he's about a 6'3", 300-pound kid, young kid, going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I think there's a good chance that we could possibly get him for maybe a 6th round. And I think he's just been buried in that depth chart. They've brought in so much, and if you look at his 2022 season, he started all 17 games and came out with 4 sacks. So he can get to the quarterback. And I think we need help. We need a little more depth on the interior D line. And so, if we get our ass handed to us to the Lions, and we just need to bring in maybe a depth piece, or we needed to bring in a piece that could potentially be something next year that's not going to cost a lot of either draft capital or what have you, I think Milton Williams could be an option. And it might be an option at a cheaper price tag, because again, he's a free agent after this year. He's going to want some money, but the thing is, we know the Eagles aren't going to pay him. And so we might be able to give him, a little bit more, or give him a fair price tag at the same time giving him a chance. as a starter, as a starting D line on a roster. So, those are my two targets I'd love to see us go after. Again, just to recap real quick, Montez Sweat, if we feel that we can make something of this season and we can come out Monday night against the Lions and really show that we can compete against those big teams, let's bring in a big body. Let's bring in an impact player. But if we can't show out with the Lions, then let's maybe bring in a piece that we can invest in for the future potentially. Because at that point, who knows where this season's going to turn if we get our ass handed to us by the Lions. And so, really, those are the two big free agents that I'd like to go after, depending on what the situation is after Monday night. And then the players that I think that are on the trading block, obviously Hunter Renfrow. Everybody's talking about how Hunter Renfrow has just not gelled in this offense. I think Josh McDaniels has done just a horrible job at setting up Hunter Renfrow to have some value at the trade deadline, because right now he's got a horrible contract based on what we've been able to do with him the last couple of years or last season and a half. So the teams that want Hunter Renfrow have all the leverage in the world. We've shown nothing of Hunter in the last season and a half, and he's got basically a $16 million a year price tag that the team has to invest in. So if we do trade Hunter Renfrow away, I fear that we would probably have to take on some of that salary hit in order to get him off our roster. And maybe at best we get a 6th round pick for him, So I don't know how much trade value Hunter Renfrow has right now. And but I do know that they've been shopping Hunter Renfrow for, at least at the tail end of last season and into this season. So I expect that there might be some movement with him. Secondly, which I'm not a fan of this, but I think it's something that in the Raiders position and where we stand now, we might have to look into, is have Josh Jacobs on the trading block. He's a extremely good running back. I don't think he's regressed this year. I think that Josh McDaniels has made some horrible decisions by bringing in Jimmy G that can't throw a deep ball, which means the defenses are going to stack the box. I think that a lot of teams can still see value in Josh Jacobs. And so, you took a 4th round draft pick 2 years ago to get Zamir White. That was your guy. You were preparing to not have Josh Jacobs a couple years ago because we were in contract talks. Josh Jacobs was on a contract year 2 years ago, last season. And you don't know if he was going to be with us because you didn't know if he was going to accept the franchise tag or if the Raiders were going to give him an extension, extend his contract. So, you brought in Zamir White, and you might have to figure out, is Zamir White the guy? And unfortunately, and again, I don't agree with it, but I'm just looking at it in a Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler standpoint. You might want to see what you can get for Josh Jacobs. So, he might be on the trading block. And then lastly, I think you got Malcolm Kuntz that could potentially be packaged in on a trade on a trade package going somewhere else. Malcolm Kuntz, he's shown flashes. He's come up big in some situations. A lot of times Max Crosby gets his sacks. It's when Malcolm Kuntz is on the field because he's helping that quarterback kind of stay in the pocket. So there could be a team that you could send a package, with Malcolm Kuntz included in it, potentially get some picks, or what have you. So, I think a lot is going to be determined after a Monday night game against the Lions. I think if we shit the bed, then we may be sellers. We may offload a lot. If we are buyers, or I'm sorry, if we beat the Lions or play a very competitive game, there's a chance that we might be buyers. So that's kind of where I stand with it. Now, to kind of recap real quick, I think if we don't do anything, I will be perfectly fine. I'm just going to leave it there. Reason being is because I think we have a pretty solid roster. Obviously, we'd like to add a couple pieces on defense, but if you look at our offense, we have all the weapons in the world. We need a quarterback, but we still have Aiden O'Connell on our roster that we don't know exactly what he's about. But I think the nation, Raider Nation, the fans, we all want to know, is he the guy? And so We have Aiden O'Connell sitting behind Jimmy G and Hoyer, but man, we got all the offensive weapons in the world. Defense needs a couple pieces. Our defense has been doing a good job of kind of keeping us in games and being the anchor when we need them to be. Obviously Chicago and the Bills game were tough ones, but outside of that, they've been doing a good job. So I think they just need a couple pieces, and we might be able to have a mid to top end defense. So if we don't move, or if we don't make any moves in free agency, I think I'll be good, because if we can't make anything of this season, if we continue to lose, if the season continues to progress the way that we think it just might, because if you look at the back half of our season, of our schedule, it's scary looking. We got to hit the Chiefs twice. We got Minnesota, which is starting to peak. We still got Miami. I mean, and the way that we've been playing, no game is a gimme. If we can move on from Josh McDaniels, if we fire him by the end of the season or sometime during the season, and we can bring a new regime in and they have this roster to build off of, I think this roster could be attractive to some head coaching candidates. And so, look, if we don't make a move, I'm not going to be mad at it, to be dead honest with you, because I don't know what the future is for Josh McDaniels. And I think collectively there's a good portion that want to move on from him. So I'd much rather have a more attractive roster to a potential candidate, head coaching candidate next year, and get the best candidate possible. So I appreciate you guys. I just wanted to drop you a quick one, let you know what my take is on free agency, since we're about 24 hours away to the deadline. I hope you guys are tuning in Monday night. I'm going to be, man, glued to that TV, and I'm be rooting on our Raiders. So I appreciate you guys. Again, if you can, like the video, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, and I'll hit you with my instant reaction video to our game Monday night after our Lions game. So until the next video, I appreciate you guys. I'm out.